King 810, Suicide King, Swallow the Sun, When a Shadow is Forced into the Light. Those are albums I'm going to be talking about in this video, and yet again, because it's January and I've got no goddamn money, I don't have any physical copy to be able to show you guys, so I'm just going to go and do some JPEGs. Right, hello, one and all. Yet another catch-up video covering two albums in one video this time, just to kind of get back up to speed. Oh dear, this is getting very muddy. This is not a good plan of action. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at King 810's Suicide King album and Swallow the Sun, When a Shadow is Forced into the Light. Right, let's get straight into it with King 810, or 810, I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce it. This is their third album, or their debut, Confessions of a Murderer, which came out 2014, I want to say. That really brought the band a lot of attention. They had songs like Fat Around the Heart, Kill 'Em All, definite Slipknot comparisons. Very heavy band, both in terms of music, performance, and quite frankly, life. Hailing from Flint, Michigan, which they proudly let us know all the time. Not a nice place to live, by the sounds of it. Yeah, one of the things that the band have had kind of against them is the amount of times guns and violence appears in their music, kind of giving them that real thug kind of label. But then again, I mean, your art reflects your life, so unfortunately for some people live in these that's their way of life, so you can't really hold that against them. Their 2016 album, Le Petit Mort, or A Conversation with God, that had some great stuff on there as well, but it got less attention than the debut. I'm not sure if this was from that album, but Alpha and Omega, that was a huge song, as in terms of just a fucking heavy, brutal song. That really was. I enjoyed that song a lot. I think it might be an idea for me to turn around and go back up. I think it might be an idea to do that. Let's discuss their third album, Suicide King. There was a lot of variation on this album that I was quite surprised about. Far more hip-hop, but you got a lot of the heavier stuff as well. Seems like the first kind of 4 songs are more what you might traditionally think from King 810. Opener, Heartbeats, has this really strong, almost militaristic chant to this Eastern droning sort of instrumentation. Pretty frenetic and heavy song. Braveheart is next. This song is heavy as fuck. Really heavy song, because our teachers would fuss and we'd hate their guts because we didn't know our futures were bleak. And I remember to this day when we were kids we used to play, and that memory makes me weak. So I block it all out and I pull my Glock out and I shoot into the air for the dead. And there's 21 guns in the sky and we ride for each other till they hit me in my head. Yeah, really heavy song on this. David Gunn sounds fucking scary as shit. He really is quite an intimidating frontman, that guy. Next up we have Bang Guns, which has a bit more of a hip-hop influence into it. Still very heavy, pretty much about gun violence and shooting a motherfucker. $1 Million is up next. Again, this has a more hip-hop feel to it, still some heavy riffage in there. Wasn't overly keen on this one. Then we get into 45. This is pretty much more of a straight-up hip-hop track. Again, wasn't so keen on this one. The gun stuff is, I understand why it's there. As I said, you have to reflect your own experience, but I guess it's one of those things that's a bit more difficult to me to relate to. Now, this sort of stuff does appear in some of the earlier songs, like Braveheart, for example. But I guess because of the inclusion of there's that metallic fury in there, which I can relate to more on a visceral level. What's Gotten Into Me was a decent enough track, but Black Rifle, we get, that's a really strong song. I really enjoyed this. We start seeing a bit of a different side to David Gunn's vocals. This song kind of reminded me a bit of, had a very strong Everlast vibe to it. Hint of Mosier's, is it Moser? Take Me to Church. The drums kind of sound like We Will Rock You, and also had a hint of Aerosmith's Dream On. I did really enjoy David Gunn's vocals. It's definitely that gruff sort of blues type feel to it, but it did work and he is capable of singing. One song I have to bring to your attention is a song called Wade in the Water. Interestingly enough, this and Braveheart were the two standout tracks for me, and they're both complete opposite ends of the spectrum towards each other. Braveheart is just a heavy, nasty song that makes you want to work out, and Wade in the Water is almost like this gospel R&B, still dark, but got a real reflective quality to it. I know, heaven's hands won't rescue me. I've done things and I must pay a handsome fee. But I really enjoyed this one. David Gunn's vocals on this are absolutely fantastic. And there's a, I'm not sure if it's a sample in the choruses, but there's a female vocal. This real gospel R&B vocal that just works really, really well. Standout track for me, this one. I don't know if this is a mix of him looking back on his own life, but I also read somewhere else that this might be something to do with the Michigan water crisis, which I know very little about, or maybe it's biblical references, I'm not sure. That's what Mama said. Son, don't drink from the river. Stay far away from that old silent killer. If ever I'm not around, this I'm warning you. I've buried one child boy, don't make me bury two. That's what Mama said. Regardless of the influence for this song, standout track for me. I really, really enjoyed this one a lot. And the final track is Sing Me to Sleep, which was another great song, and another one that displayed David's vocal range. He's experimented with his voice a bit more on this album, and I enjoyed a lot of it. There was some of it that I wasn't so taken with. In terms of a score, I'd give it a 7 out of 10, purely based on the fact that there are 10 songs, and I enjoyed 7 of them. Are you scared, motherfucker? 10 out of 10. No, it's a 10 out of 10. Are you scared of the dark? Exactly what I just said. 11 out of 10. 11 out of 10. It's a really good album. 11 out of 10. And the other album I want to quickly have a look at is the new album by Swallow the Sun, When a Shadow is Forced into the Light. I love the sound of this album. Just to give you a quick history on it. Founding guitarist Juha Ravio, I probably butchered that name, had a side project called Trees of Eternity. I think it was with his girlfriend Alia Stanbridge. Tragically, she passed away. I think it might have actually even been before the release of that album, and he used a lot of her poetry as lyrics, and obviously that tragic death has informed a lot of what we hear on this album, and a glorious one it is. It really melds symphonic black metal with doom and drone. In terms of the songs, I've not really got too much to tell you about, other than that Firelights, Upon the Water were absolutely fantastic, and the standout track for me was Here on the Black Earth. The other thing I'd like to say is that vocalist Mikko Kotamaki, again I'm damn with my pronunciation, he does a fantastic job. His voice is absolutely fantastic on this album. He has this very rich, clean singing voice that wouldn't sound out of place on Paradise Lost. Some of the earlier Paradise Lost stuff hint a typo negative in there, that real sort of doom goth sort of richness to it, but also he can do these feral black metal shrieks, you know, the ring wraith kind of, really haunting. Such informed reviewing as ever. Now, in terms of the songs, they're all absolutely glorious. They sound luscious, and they always have, there's a richness to it, a gloriousness. You've got elements of black metal, like I said, that sort of symphonic black metal, along with gothic, more luscious, spacious, droning elements to it. The only one thing I would say, each song does sound somewhat similar to the last. There's not a lot of variation in the album. However, having said that, as it's such a goddamn good sound, that's not really a problem. In terms of a score, I give it an 8 out of 10. Very, very enjoyable album, very emotional album, very atmospheric, one of those ones that you can really just lose yourself in for an hour, and highly recommended, highly worth checking out. So that was King 810 and Swallow the Sun, and hopefully next week I can get back on track and start doing individual reviews for albums rather than fucking go back down here again out of the wind. Next review I will no doubt be doing will be for the new Within Temptation album, band that I'm not familiar with, so I'm interested to see what that does. There's not too many other albums I want to check out next week, so I'm also going to be doing my top 10 covers songs of all time, and I ask all of you to get your lists together as well. The wind is yet again making it very difficult to concentrate and do decent stuff, so I'm going to call it an end to the video there, and I will be back soon with something else.